Hey, this is Jeremy from Groans, and you're listening to Vulgar Display of Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Vulgar Display of Podcast live from the Barn Studio. You got the Mox here with Anthony. How's it going, man?
It's going great.
Yeah,
how you doing?
Doing good. We got a special guest online. We have Jeremy from Groans.
Yo.
Jeremy, what's up, man?
Dude, happy to be here.
Yeah.
Rock and rolling.
We're happy to have you.
Got the new EP out, Tongue Tied, out on Solid State Records. This was a one-man band, right? You did a little bit of everything on this, or maybe all of it.
That's true. So Groans has always been kind of my brainchild, so I've always been kind of the writer of the band. So all previous records were pretty much all written by me. With this record, I did go and work with a producer. His name is Ryan Latrue. He used to be in For Today. He also works with he does a lot of producing for Gideon and We Came as Romans. He's been doing a lot of bands lately. So first time working with a producer. So that was definitely a different experience, but a very good experience. And, with every record I've done up to this point, I've always kind of known, I guess, what I wanted to accomplish with the record. And this one, I just wasn't really sure. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go and work with somebody, because I had a lot of ideas, but I just didn't know where to funnel it or what would be the strongest, act of pursuing or act, whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Words
the
are
best
hard.
way to pursue it, the best way to accomplish what I wanted to do. But anyway, so I went and I worked with Ryan, and he did a really good job of kind of packaging Groans a little neater. He so nicely puts it. He says that I write music for crazy people. So he's like, well, we're going to keep some of the weirdness, but we're going to package it a little nicer so we can kind of cast a broader net. And I think that we did that pretty well. But yeah, and then so after I worked with him, I came back to my studio. I have a studio here in South Dakota. That's my real job, my big boy job, I guess. And then I wrote and recorded everything but the drums. I hired a drummer to come in and track drums on the record.
Super cool, man. And this EP rocks, bro.
It's a banger.
Thank you.
It's
Appreciate that.
Absolute banger. Is this sort of a bookend on your EP run? I mean, I know we have five since 2007.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. This is number 6. So this actually concludes our contract with Solid State. It is kind of a bookend, maybe. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing next. I got this far, and now this was kind of like the end site, and then now I'm here, and I'm like, well, now what do I do? So we'll see. I'll keep on rocking. I'm already writing for more material. What that ends up being, if it's re-sign with Solid State or trying somebody else, or maybe going independent. I don't know. A lot of ideas and a lot of pathways I could go going forward. So I'm not really sure what to do from here. So
does that potential, I guess, what you would call freedom, does that excite you a little bit? Like sort of the unknown of what's coming next?
Yeah. There's definitely some excitement, but there's also a little bit of fear there too. Cause I'm like, I was like, I could go to try and go for some of these other labels, but they might say no. But I don't know. A lot of bands have been going independent, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. But it would be nice to have, somebody. It'd be nice to have a team behind you, doing some of the things that we're not able to do on our end, like some of the politics and all that business, and just the extra support and publicity is always good too. So I don't know.
Can we talk about Overgrown, the first single, and specifically the video? I think the video, it's the sort of buried alive thing that I think I would assume everybody is scared of, or gives them a little bit of feelings. Like watching that video seriously kind of makes my skin crawl in a way. And I'm sure that's part of the point, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, the whole point of that video is just to be like inducing. When I talked to the producer of the video, when I talked to him, I was like, I want to go like for like a Saw theme or something. You know, you remember when Saw came out back then and how eerie and anxiety inducing that movie was? I wanted to like go for something like that. I wanted that the vibe. I wanted that to be the vibe, you know.
I'd say mission accomplished, man. Yeah, the video's sick, and it does. It gives you that feeling, and yeah, I'm not sure if I like it or not, but
I like the way it sounds. I don't like the way it makes me feel.
Yeah, it's like I really love the whole, like, and you can hear this in our music, the whole push and pull feeling like a horror movie. It's like it builds the tension and then it releases. Like that's the way I like to that's the way I like to write music, is like you build the tension and then you release it and you kind of lock into something, and then you build the tension and then you release it. I don't know. That's my philosophy when I'm like trying to write music.
Do you think of visuals when you are writing music?
That's a good question. I feel like sometimes I do. I would say most of the time I don't, though. No, I don't think I do. I don't know. I don't know what I think about when I'm writing music.
Well, on EP 7, maybe you'll have an answer for that.
Yeah.
But so, like, the concept of the video, is that something that you came up with, or somebody came up with that idea?
That was, the video producer's name is John Fleischman. I wanted to do a person locked in like a glass cage, and it started filling up with water. Ooh, yeah. And then the whole video is basically same concept. Like instead of being buried alive, you're basically like drowning alive. But we had no way of finding somebody to make something like that. I mean, our budget was not gonna cover a human aquarium. So
right, some David Blaine type stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which would be worse. Drowning alive, or
both are rough.
For me, drowning. Yeah.
Terrifying.
I think so too. I feel like that too, but I don't know.
So, Jeremy, you've actually been popping up on my feed for a long time, and I had no idea. I love these covers that you do on your Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
The one you did with Zayo and 5 Year Wonder was amazing.
Oh, nice. Yeah, classic. I mean, Zayo was my first metal band, so I had to pay some homage there.
Yeah, I think you and a lot of people, you know, Zayo was such a pivotal part of the metal scene coming up.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, Parade of Chaos was the first record I heard by them, and at first I wasn't really into metal. I was also like 10 or something when I heard this, so I had no idea. It was kind of scary to me, but something about it was just super intriguing, and I kept listening to it, and then all of a sudden I was a Zayo fan, and then I was like a total metalhead from that point on. So
when you go back and listen to records like that were pretty formative for you in your metal upbringing or your musical upbringing, what do they sound like now? Do they sound dated to you? Do they sound just as cool now as they did then? Like, especially when the music is so accessible these days, you can hear a million bands if you wanted to. Sure.
I would say, I mean, since there's nostalgia attached to it, a lot of those records definitely, like, they still hold up for me, and I still get just as stoked when I listen to like Parade of Chaos, like now as I did when I was a younger kid. And even like I feel like maybe some of the old hardcore stuff like is like I'll listen to it again now, and I'm like, oh dang, that's a sick idea. Like I'll be inspired to write something similar, you know, to stuff like that. Yeah. Some of those bands, I'll hear some of that older stuff and I'll cringe a little bit, just because some of that stuff is a little bit dated, and I mean the quality obviously isn't there, you know, for technology back then, recording those records way back when compared to what we have now. So some of that stuff now, like when I'll hear about, like, oh man, that recording did not hold up at all.
Yeah, especially with you being a sound engineer, I bet it's easy to critique some of the things that you hear.
Yeah, it's a curse in a way.
Right.
It's a good thing and a bad thing. You know, obviously I love making records and I love designing the sound of records and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's really hard for me just to listen to a record and enjoy it for the sake of art.
When I think about bands like Zayo and specifically a band like Converge, but you guys as well, it's always weird when I talk to metalheads that hear that and they always think it's angry. But to me,
Yeah.
there's so much grittiness and rawness to it that it's really actually beautiful to me. And
Yeah,
I get the same sense with Earth Groans as well.
Thank you, man. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and have you seen that meme where it's like the dude on stage is Godzilla and then the vocalist at the merch table and it's Barney? If you've seen that meme, but
I haven't seen that.
Okay, that's totally me. It's like on stage, like I have this whole another persona. It's just like really intense and like really passionate. And then and then when I'm at the merch table, I'm like the nicest dude ever in the world and stuff. And I just like want to give everyone hugs and stuff. But I get tagged in that one a lot. That's why I brought that up.
Funny.
So speaking of you being on stage, so you're playing a festival in July, a live music festival. It's a very dynamic bill.
Never played that one. Don't know anything about it. But yes, we are playing that.
I checked it out earlier. It's very, I guess, dynamic. I think you're probably one of the, maybe the only band on the extreme music side that I saw.
Sick. Well, people will remember us at least.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe a good thing or a bad thing.
How did that come about? How did you end up on a fest like that?
You know, I don't actually know. I think from what I hear about this festival is that it has been around for a while, but they haven't had heavy bands on this festival, or maybe they used to, and then they went against that, and they just like had contemporary, modern, whatever for a long time, and now they're introducing a heavy scene or something, or couple heavy bands. I don't really honestly know. They just emailed me one day and said, "Hey, we got this festival, and the money looked really good." And I was like, well, shoot, I guess we have a lot of fans in Ohio, so I thought, why not? Some of these festivals are tough because, you know, you show up and you're like that weird heavy band, and it feels like it's kind of like church camp where there's all these like young kids running around, and like, this isn't my ideal like clientele or fan base, but at the same time, like I was one of those little kids running around at festivals like that when I was younger, and that music totally shaped, like seeing heavy bands like that totally shaped like me into like the musician I am today. So I can't knock it either. It can be a risk to them because I'm sure somebody's not going to like it. So
we used to play music a little bit back in the day, and we booked ourselves to a hippie fest one time, and we were a heavy band.
Sick.
Ripped off Zayo as much as we could. And we pulled in and we thought, on paper it looks cool. Like, yeah, let's play a hippie fest and convert a bunch of hippies to metal. And when we pulled up, we're like, oh man,
we can't do this.
This might be a little bit bigger of a task than what we were thinking on paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be super cool to do that, to get to bring somebody to that world and see all the amazing things. We know that world because we're in it so much, but to somebody that's not, that would be awesome. You mentioned South Dakota and your studio being in South Dakota. You living in South Dakota. What's the scene like up there?
It is small. I mean, South Dakota has 850,000 people in the whole state. And I live outside of Sioux Falls, which is, I don't know, we might have 250,000 people metro. So it's obviously smaller. Cows outnumber us 3-1, apparently. But it's a smaller scene, but we don't get very many tours because it is such a small market, probably B or C market. So it gets skipped. So when a show does happen, people get stoked, People are here are hungry for shows. Where are you guys at again? Sorry.
So we're in St. Louis.
Okay, yeah. So obviously St. Louis, you guys get, probably 3-4 shows a week. Out here we get, like 3-4 shows in 6 months, or something. Maybe 3-4 shows a month at the most. So when there is a show happening, people get stoked about it,
So a little geography test here for myself. So if I'm thinking right, are you just a couple hours from like Omaha then?
Yeah, we're 3 hours north of Omaha.
So do you end up playing Omaha quite a bit?
Yeah, Omaha is like our second home. We play Sioux Falls and Omaha. We consider them both home shows, honestly.
Me and my family actually traveled up there a couple years ago to go to Mount Rushmore. And,
sure.
Really fell in love with South Dakota. I think it's like one of the most underrated states.
It definitely is. Most people don't realize, I mean, obviously there's a lot of cows and corn here, but people don't realize that it is a really beautiful state. And I mean, if you don't like people, it's a good place to be because there's only 850,000 people here, and there's a lot of open space. So I really enjoy. I'm on the east side of the state, so this side of the state has a little less of the geography. We have the rolling plain or the rolling hills and the river valleys, which is really pretty in its own way. But then the west side of the state, like where Mount Rushmore is, that's got like the Badlands, and there's tons of hiking, and there's a lot of really beautiful stuff out there. But yeah, it doesn't get a good rap for some reason, but it is a beautiful state.
Well, it gets my approval for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, for sure.
We loved our time up there with the Badlands, and we definitely enjoyed our time up there, and Mount Rushmore was awesome. So. Yep.
Did you, quick question, did you hike Elk, what is it, Black Elk Peak?
So we have 3 younger daughters, and hiking we hike, but it's usually through like Walmart or something. So we didn't really get to hike as much as we wanted to. It was a lot more just kind of driving through.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, I was just curious. I went out there and I hiked it this fall, and I didn't realize it, but it's like a 7, what is the elevation, like almost 8,000, and it's huge. And I'm not an athletic person at all, and it was really hard. Could not believe how hard of a hike that was. But it is the highest point east of the Rockies, I guess.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So what does the rest of 2023 have in store for Earth Groans?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're going to try to tour as much as we possibly can. We got some festivals this summer. We're working on some more tour stuff for the summer and fall. It's really just kind of, we want to play as much as we possibly can, whatever makes sense. We just got off of tour last week, so we're kind of fresh home. So now we're going to start working hard on getting the summer dates figured out. We do have vinyl coming out for the new record. We're waiting on that right now.
Sweet.
A whole bunch of new merch that we're going to be dropping here. We're just kind of waiting to hear back on vinyl. Vinyl's been a weird one since COVID, really, because they really got backed up. There was a time when there was a year wait on vinyl. Now it's like anywhere from like 1 month to 6 months wait. So it's kind of a gamble when you put in an order for vinyl when you're going to get it back. But yeah, so we're just kind of waiting on that before we know when we're going to drop all the new merch, and we have a whole line of tongue-tied merch that we're going to roll out. And yeah, so just trying to play a lot of shows and get some merch and vinyl out.
So Jeremy, if I was introducing somebody to your band, what would be your number one pick for a song to choose?
Woo, that's a hard one. I would say it depends on what that person, is used to listening to, but say off of Tongue Tied, I think Over the Edge is a really, really safe pick, because that song is probably the least amount of weirdness. That's just like a good straightforward metalcore song with some good riffs. And, I write a lot of really weird stuff, but that song is like be straightforward, just good for metalcore.
Can I quote you real quick about Over the Edge?
Sure.
You said it's about staying true to what you're doing and not losing the passion. For me, I started doing music because of the passion I had behind it. You can't let that go.
Amen.
Tell us about a little bit of your lyric writing and where you draw inspiration from.
Sure. Yeah, so, with Over the Edge, I was in a place of being really, really frustrated with where the progress of my band and where we're at in the industry. The music industry is really hard, and nobody gets a free pass, really. And it's like, it's one of those industries where it's not like other industries where you work hard and you climb the ladder. Like with the music industry, sometimes you do climb the ladder and sometimes you stay in the same place. But anyways, long story, it's a hard industry to work in, and our band's never really taken off. And yeah, we've done a lot of really cool things. I'm really grateful for where we're at and everything and what we've been able to do. But at the same time, I see other people getting bones and whatever. So the song is my frustration with the music industry, and in that same realm, I realized that I'm getting really upset and overworked about something that I'm trying to do for the love of music, and so this song is kind of putting myself back in check a little bit. Like I want to do music for the right reason. I don't want to do music for the wrong reason. No matter how hard the industry is, I want to still keep that passion alive, and I don't want to sell out just for the sake of trying to make it in the industry. So yeah, and that's why the last line is like, I won't let this passion turn to poison. Because I think it's really easy to do, especially as dudes. We're like, oh, well, we need to be progressing. If we're not being successful, we're not seeing progress, we're failing. So that's really hard for me as somebody that's always wanting to see progress, always want to be climbing the ladder, moving to the next step. But there are times, especially within music, where that's not even sometimes the reality.
Amen, brother. We have Jeremy from Groans here. The EP out now is called Tongue Tied out of Solid State Records. What's your website, Jeremy?
earthgroansmusic.com.
And you're on all the socials?
You bet.
You're going to go get Tongue Tied, the EP on Solid State Records, Groans. Jeremy, we appreciate your time today, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Down a rounded wall, crumbling into a twisted